Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. It's hard to believe that the college football season is almost over. We only have one game left to play, which is, of course, the national championship game Monday night between Alabama and Georgia. And our predictions for that will be coming out later on this week, but for right now, we're going to share our top 10 bowl games from this bowl season. Remember, bowl games start on December 16th, and they will include all bowl games up until this point. Of course, not including the national championship. We're also going to share what our current bowl record is going into the championship game. So we're going to go ahead and break down our top 10 games. This is all subjective, all basic off of my opinion. And we did have a couple honorable mentions. Of course, the Arizona Bowl between New Mexico State and Utah State. The Aggies, New Mexico State Aggies, winning that game 26-20 in overtime. I almost put that on the list around 9th or 10th. What a great moment for them, winning their first bowl game in 57 years. So that almost made the list. The Hawaii Bowl between Houston and Fresno State. The Fresno State Bulldogs winning that game in a very close one. Also the Fiesta Bowl between Penn State and Washington. That was a great one. And then the Outback Bowl between Michigan and South Carolina, where Michigan had 5 turnovers in the second half, which led to a 16-point comeback victory for South Carolina. That almost made the list, but these are our top 10 going into the championship game, all based on my opinion. Our bowl record as of now is 24-15, which, isn't great. It could have been a lot better. We had a couple games that we missed that were just near very close losses or were upsets that we just weren't expecting, like the Central Florida Auburn game. But our 24-15 record is better than all 7 of the CBS Sports experts, so I still think it's fairly solid in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and just go up the rankings here. We'll start at number 10 between Iowa State and Memphis in the Liberty Bowl. The Cyclones winning this game 21-20, clinching an 8-win season, which is a huge win and a huge accomplishment for the Cyclones team that struggled so much. Hadn't been to a bowl game since 2012, so what a great season for them. And when people look at the score, they think this wasn't really a great game, but it was a great defensive battle. Neither team scored a single point in the fourth quarter. All the scoring was done in the third quarter, but the fourth quarter was actually probably the most exciting, one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen. Iowa State had a chance late in the game to go up 28-20, fumbled at the goal line. Memphis recovered in the end zone for a touchback. They went back and reviewed it. They thought maybe the Iowa State running back had crossed the plane. He did not. So Memphis gets the ball back, starts driving down the field. They got a pass interference call when they desperately needed it to keep the drive alive, and they just weren't able to get anything done down the stretch. All they needed was a field goal to win it, but Iowa State was able to escape with a victory in the Liberty Bowl, and what ended up being a really great finish. And then Northwestern and Kentucky in the Music City Bowl. This game also has some controversy in it as well. We'll start with the Kentucky side. Benny Snell, the star running back for Kentucky, getting ejected for making contact with a ref. He was down on the ground, and he got up and kind of pushed the ref away, and the ref ejected him. If you go back and watch the film, he really didn't make that much contact with him, but the ref wasn't going to have any of it, ejected him from the game. And then Northwestern's quarterback Clayton Thorson had to leave the game due to an injury, which obviously hurt their chances. They ended up, Kentucky scored a defensive touchdown late in the game. Justin Jackson, though, was able to pick up the slack for Northwestern, get them to victory. And as we all know, Kentucky scored late in the game. They were down 17-7, came all the way back, had a chance to send it into overtime. But Coach Mark Stoops decided to go for 2 and try to win the game, and it just fell just short, went right through the hands of the Kentucky receiver. It was a little behind them, but still. And I don't blame Kentucky for that. Hadn't won a bowl game in such a long time, lost last year in their bowl game. Want to go out for a victory here and fell just short. I personally would have played for overtime. Northwestern's offense, besides Jackson, was really stagnant for most of the game once Thorson got out. I think Kentucky probably could have won this game in overtime, but they decided to go for the win, and it just didn't work out for them. And then Army and San Diego State in the Armed Forces Bowl. If you like some running smash-mouth football, this was the game for you. San Diego State's Rashad Penny had over 200 yards rushing, and Army had Ahmad Bradshaw, their quarterback, had a $180 on the ground. So what a great game for those two. A quarterback and a running back. Neither team led by more than a touchdown in this game, so it was always within striking distance. Army scored late in the game. I believe it was about 18 seconds left, and decided, like Kentucky, to go for 2. But of course, and this time it worked out for Army. They got up 36-35 to take the lead, and then San Diego State, of course, at the end of the game, tried to do some hook and ladders, and it was picked off by Army in return for a touchdown, which is why it says 42-35 instead of 36-35. So a great game for them, and Army clinched a 10-win season, something that hasn't been done. I can't remember the year, but a great accomplishment for the Black Knights. And what a year for them, winning 10 games for a program that has really struggled for many years prior. And then Notre Dame, LSU, and the Citrus Bowl. This was a New Year's Day game. A lot of these were New Year's Day games. And what a game for the Irish. This was a super sloppy game. The score going into halftime was 3-0 Notre Dame. LSU had already missed a couple field goals. The field conditions were not great. It was down in Orlando, and it was just wet and rainy and muddy. So not the best conditions, especially for a kicker. LSU ended up taking the lead, though, 14-6. Notre Dame fights back, ties it up. There really wasn't much offense in this game, so I really thought it was going to come down to whoever had the ball last, and it definitely did. LSU kicked a field goal to make it 17-14 with about 2 minutes remaining, and then Miles Boykin made one of the best catches of the entire college football season. A one-handed grab on the sideline, stays in bounds, avoids 2 LSU defenders, scores the game-winning touchdown to get them up 21-17 with about a minute and a half left, and Notre Dame was able to hold off the LSU offense for a Citrus Bowl victory. So, I mean, it was an epic game, one that, when you watched it and you saw it down at the bottom of the scoreboard, you thought, man, this is a horrible, low-scoring game, but the ending was very exciting and super fun to watch, and what a game for the Fighting Irish, and a disappointing finish for LSU, who also was playing in their second straight Citrus Bowl. And then UCF and Auburn, we all know about this one. Central Florida, Scott Frost, their dynamic offense going in there, clinching an undefeated season against the Auburn team, who nearly made the college football playoff had they beaten Georgia in the SEC championship game. And when I made my predictions for this video, I was a little bit concerned with Auburn's motivation. How motivated were they going to be going into this Peach Bowl? This meant the world for Central Florida. A chance to beat an SEC school, a chance to finish the season undefeated, a chance to send Scott Frost off with a victory before he leaves for Nebraska. Everything was in the right place for Central Florida. How motivated was Auburn going to be? There were rumors that their head coach was leaving prior to this game. Of course, he signed a new contract. And things looked over when Jarrett Stidham threw a pick six with about 6 minutes left in the game. Auburn was able to fight back and had a chance to even tie the game up and send it into overtime. But Central Florida sent an all-out blitz there when Auburn was about on the UCF 30-yard line, and Stidham threw another interception, his second of the day, and that sealed an undefeated season for Central Florida. So what a year, what a season for Scott Frost. And, the biggest concern was Central Florida's defense. We knew their offense was dynamic, and they did a pretty darn good job of stopping that Auburn defense that many thought would be able to run over this Knights defense. So, I mean, it was a great game, great Peach Bowl, and I was super happy for Central Florida to be able to go in there and send Scott Frost off with a victory. And then South Florida, Texas Tech in the Birmingham Bowl. This was one when we saw that the bowl matchups were released. We all got excited because we knew this game was going to have tons of offense, and it definitely didn't disappoint. It was actually fairly low scoring for most of the game. The fourth quarter was when things really started to pick up. You had Nick Shimonek and you had Quentin Flowers of South Florida, both going at it. Two very good quarterbacks. Quentin Flowers, his final game as a Bull, gaining over 400 total yards, 300 through the air, 100 on the ground. Texas Tech took the lead 34-31 with about a minute and a half remaining in the game. South Florida was able to drive down there, scored a game-winning touchdown with 16 seconds remaining. So a great season for them. Many thought they would be the one playing against Auburn potentially in a New Year's Six Bowl early in the preseason, but a couple losses in the regular season, one to UCF in the season finale, diminished those hopes, but still a very solid win over a Power 5 school, and what a great game in the Birmingham Bowl. Now we've reached our top 4 bowl games, in my opinion. We'll start off here with the Foster Farms Bowl between Purdue and Arizona. In a heck of a game for both teams. Jeff Brom going in and really transforming this Boilermakers team, getting them to their first bowl game, I believe, since 2012. Elijah Sindelar, the MVP of this game, was battling an ACL injury, yet threw for almost 400 yards. Tons of offense between these teams. Purdue jumped out to an early 17-point lead going into halftime. Arizona scored 21 straight unanswered, took a 35-31 lead, but did not face Purdue. They calmly marched down the field, took the lead right back, and Arizona just didn't have enough to go back and take control of the lead again. Plenty of offense between this game. Khalil Tate had a great game. They shut him down in the first half, came out in the second half on fire, threw 5 touchdowns, which was a Foster Farms Bowl record. So it was an epic classic. I mean, Elijah Sindelar, one of the best performances I've seen, and not many people knew he was battling such a bad injury. So he really stepped up for this team. And Purdue clinched a 7-6 season, which was a heck of an accomplishment for Brom. I can't wait to see what he does in the future. So great offensive battle between these teams, but not as much offense to jump Wake Forest and Texas A&M in the Belt Bowl. Many people had Texas A&M winning this game, and I predicted Wake Forest to win. I did not predict them to do very well this season, but as the season went on, I realized that, of course, I did make a mistake. And Johnny Walford did, have one of the best quarterback performances I've seen in the ACC, and especially in this bowl game. These two teams combined for over 1,000 yards of total offense. Texas A&M jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Then Wake Forest jumped out and scored 31 unanswered to take a 17-point lead. The second half, it was kind of back and forth. Texas A&M scoring late in the game to reclaim their lead. Wake Forest scoring with about 2 minutes left to reclaim their lead. Texas A&M had one last shot to go down there, at least send the game into overtime. And there was a very controversial pass interference call to end this game. It was a no call. A&M goes deep with just a couple minutes or a couple seconds left. And it looked like the Wake Forest defender grabbed the A&M wide receiver before the ball got there. Everybody was calling for flags. I was surprised they didn't call one. It was a no call. A&M wasn't able to get the ball anywhere, and they ended up losing this game and spoiling Jimbo Fisher's arrival at College Station. Of course, he didn't coach this game, but it would have been nice to start his tenure there with a win. But what a performance by Wake Forest, one of the best I've seen in a while. Heck of a bowl game. Everybody loves a good old-fashioned shootout, and this was definitely one for the ages, one of the best belt bowls I've ever seen. And then TCU, Stanford, and the Alamo Bowl. I almost put Wake Forest A&M above this game, but I just couldn't pull myself to do it. You can't lose faith in TCU. 2 years ago, they played in the Alamo Bowl and were down 31-0, came back and won that game in 3 overtimes. This year, against Stanford and Bryce Love, they were down 21-3. Didn't lose faith, came all the way back in the fourth quarter. They opened it up with a 93-yard touchdown pass, and then they stopped Stanford, and then they had a 76-yard punt return to take a 36-31 lead. And even when Stanford went down there and tried to go for two, of course, that's why they had 37, and reclaimed the lead, TCU, just like Purdue, calmly went back down, kicked a field goal with just 3 minutes remaining, and then their defense held Stanford in the end. They clinched a 39-37 victory, and what a comeback for TCU. Just never count out Gary Patterson's team. And what a story. 2 Alamo Bowls in the past 3 years, both huge come-from-behind victories. It was a great game. It really was. If you missed it, I feel sorry for you because it was an awesome game to watch. And of course, our number one bowl game is the two overtime Rose Bowl college football playoff semifinal between Georgia and Oklahoma, a 54-48 victory for the Bulldogs, which sent them to the national championship game. This game had everything you wanted for a college football fan. 2 great head coaches with Kirby Smart at Georgia and Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. A dynamic running back duo with Sony Michel, who ran for over 180 yards, and Nick Chubb, who added over 100 himself. So the two combined for 300 yards rushing, a little over 300 yards rushing. And then the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield. I know I've been wrong on Georgia a lot this season. I picked Oklahoma to win this game, and this was just a great game to watch overall, either side you were on. For Georgia fans, I know they're ecstatic getting to the national championship game, and Oklahoma fans are heartbroken. This is one heck of a game. Oklahoma jumped out to a 17-point lead late in the first half, but they made the odd decision to squib kick right before halftime, which allowed Georgia to hit a 55-yard field goal before going into halftime, which cut their lead from a 3-possession game to a 2-possession game for Oklahoma's lead. And then Georgia came out firing on all cylinders in the second half, starting off with a huge run by Nick Chubb to get the touchdowns rolling there. They ended up coming back and taking the lead. Oklahoma had a crucial interception that led to a touchdown for Georgia, but Georgia also had a crucial turnover where Oklahoma had a huge scoop and score for 46 yards. So, a lot of factors went into play here. Georgia tied the game up late in the fourth quarter to send the game into overtime. In the first overtime, as we all know, each team hit a field goal. Oklahoma got the ball to start the second overtime, but their field goal attempt was blocked. It was very interesting to see Oklahoma's very conservative style of play calling, not passing the ball that much in overtime. I know they ran that risk of throwing interceptions or getting sacked or something like that, but when you've got the Heisman winning quarterback who's also very good at dual threat, it was very interesting that they were playing so conservative. But Georgia gets the ball back. All they need to field goal to win. They line up in the Wildcat formation, 27-yard touchdown. Georgia is going to the national championship game to face Alabama. But this was just one heck of a game. You've got to give credit to Kirby Smart for what he's done at Georgia. Give credit to Jake Fromm for what he's done for this university, coming in as a freshman quarterback and getting them to the national championship game. And, of course, their defense and their running back. It's been a complete team effort for the Bulldogs. It's been a miracle season. Heck of a season for them. I can't wait to see this national championship game when they face off in the All-SEC championship between Georgia and Alabama. Our prediction for that will be coming out later this week, as well as NFL playoff predictions later on this week. So make sure you keep your eye out for that. They'll be coming soon. Tons of videos coming up. Only one college football game left in the year. It's going to be a great one. National championship Monday between Georgia and Alabama. Predictions coming soon. Thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.